Hi, my name is Dawn Montefusco, and this is Write Your True Story, how to use your story to grow your business, inspire millions, and leave a legacy. And today, I'm so excited to have Dr. Carol Parker Walsh. I get to see her sometimes at the eWomen Network luncheons, but here she is. And she has a business called Evolve Image Consulting. Carol is a nationally recognized, award-winning business owner, brand ambassador, best-selling author, regular TV contributor, former practicing attorney, and highly educated. And she says she's talking overeducated. But for brevity's sake, she prefers confidence coach, personal branding goddess, NLP sensei, and licensed fashioned feng shui expert. Carol is also the author of the best-selling book, Your Clothes Speak, Understanding and Using the Powerful Language of Your Personal Style. Hi, Carol.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so fun to have you here.
This is great to be here. Thank you, Dawn.
Oh, I just love your story. I love your energy. This is going to be fun. So tell us, about you. Tell us a little more about you from your words and maybe a project you're working on.
Sure. Well, I am a person that loves to work with empowering women and helping them to uncover and unearth their brilliance and significance, and to embrace that, to empower that, to package that, and to present that to the world. Because I believe that we were all born with a gift that we need to share with the world. And it's something that's unique about who we are that we just need to get out there. So that's my passion. Is something that I found throughout my journey and my previous careers as I morphed and really emerged into really discovering who I was, that it really came to fruition. And so I'm excited. I'm doing a couple of projects right now. I'm in the middle of an 8-week course I developed for women called the Confident Image Solution. So it's amazing. And just last night, one of the participants sent me an email saying, I would have paid like 10 grand for this. I mean, you are just pouring yourself into this. Wow. And I'm learning so much about who I am and my passions and my gifts. So it's just really a blessing to be able to do that. So that's my biggest thing I'm doing right now. And I'm absolutely loving working in a collaboration with this group of women.
Oh, this is so exciting. Your energy is so great around that.
Thank you.
So tell us, just to start with this part, tell us how sharing your authentic and vulnerable, it is a vulnerable story, has allowed you to grow your business and attract your tribe. Like, tell us the story. Like, you were an attorney.
Yeah. I was an attorney for 10 years, practiced labor and employment law. And I was married before. And so after practicing in Chicago, my husband's company moved us around a bit. So even in that process, I had to kind of reinvent myself a little bit. But so I learned some skills of working with organizations and working inside of organizations and doing management consulting and organizational development and doing a lot of training and coaching and facilitation and all of that, which I really loved. And then when I moved to the Pacific Northwest, I finished out my law career as a legal counsel with the Nurses Association here, the Oregon Nurses Association. From there, I went into Oregon Health and Science University, if anyone knows about that institution. It's one of the biggest medical academic institutions here, and worked throughout that entire organization, coaching leaders, doing a lot of training and development for frontline supervisors all the way up to high-end supervisors and managers and directors and vice presidents, and doing a lot of coaching and developing there, which I absolutely loved. And it really gave me a powerful sense of understanding the relationship of the individual to what they do. Right? Who we are and what we do, how somehow or another that can either get lost or it can really get augmented by really understanding a sense of self. And I left from there, started teaching. I got my PhD and went back and studied human development and social psychology and really focused on identity development from a gender perspective and how we as women figure out who we are. Right. And I went through that process around the time that I was going through a divorce. So it was relevant. A little personal, they always say that most people who are psychologists because they're trying to heal themselves.
Yeah,
That's
oh, yeah.
part of that was my kind of catharsis and my therapy, if you will, to go through that process. But it helped me to kind of understand the theory and science behind our stories and who we are and how powerful they are. And even in my dissertation, I used narrative analysis to understand the research components of what I did. So hearing people's stories was a part of my entire research project. And after doing a stint being a associate professor and then ultimately an associate dean, I was at the precipice of my 50th birthday and realized that wasn't the path that I wanted to get on. And I did some introspective work looking at the breadth of my career, my experiences, what I did, what I loved, who I was, how I wanted to work and engage in the world, and decided to create this business, Evolve Image. And part of the reason I named it Evolved is because we all are always on this evolution in life, right? Our stories are always unfolding.
Yes.
They're never done, but they're always unfolding. And so as we are in this process of evolution, how do we make sure that we check in and honor ourselves and make sure we're on our right path? So that's kind of like my story and the journey of, how I got there. And, I think my story, by being authentic and honest about it, people can relate to it because over the breadth of my experience, I've been at pinnacles of my careers. I've been, very down going through the process of being a divorced and single mom and kind of losing a sense of myself and, what I really wanted to do or really who I was. We can lose that when you're in a relationship and have children and that type of thing. And so I've kind of gone through this pendulum of ups and highs and lows in my life. And I think it's something that my tribe or people who connect with me can relate to me because I'm pretty open and honest about it.
Yes, that's huge. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I've met in different entrepreneurial groups and luncheons and things. You'll see the image coaches here and there. And it's funny, I don't know, but I make grand assumptions sometimes like, oh, they just have it easy and now they're just helping people with clothes. Like there's this weird story that I don't know where it comes from. But what I love is that when I went to your website or when people talk about you, because they actually refer to your story. Oh, do you know she was an attorney and then she went and got her PhD and she discovered that helping people with image or I read it on your website, you talk about your daughters and, things like that. And the trust that I feel about you from that kind of sharing. Tell us a little more about, you really open up on your web, like writing, I say, is not just about a book, even though you have a best-selling book, but also on your website, you really do present authentically.
Yeah.
And how has that helped your business?
Well, in this day and age, I think, particularly because in this technological age where almost nothing is private anymore, people can spot a phony in a minute, I think, in a lot of ways. And people look for and long for connectivity and authenticity because there's so much out there, right? They're being fed so much stuff that when through all the mire, they can find something that's real, they can really connect with it.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, having gone through my journey, how so important it is, and I primarily work with women, but how important it is to really narrow down and grind down to who am I, right? What makes me tick? What makes me thrive? What makes me happy? What are the things that I'm good at that I don't think about, right? That a lot of times, fish that are in water don't know they're in water because that's what they do, right?
Yes.
But we have skills and abilities that we just don't mind because we think they're insignificant. Right. And so I am all about doing this. One of my clients called it a self-archaeological dig, which I love that terminology because that's what it is getting back to unpeeling the layers of life and career and parents and family and spouses and children and getting down to the core of ourselves. And for me, I think the reason it's really helped my business is because what I didn't realize, I just want to back up for a moment. When I first got into my business, I did not share my story.
Yeah. Okay.
And even though it was part of my journey and part of the process and how I got into doing what I'm doing, I didn't share it because I thought nobody wants to know about my story. They just want to know, can I help them?
Totally.
And as I continued to share my story with clients or on a more private level, the more feedback I would get saying, oh my God, that is I can relate to that, or that's exactly what I went through, or man, it's so great to know I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And, or you've given me inspiration, or you've motivated me to know that there's hope.
Yes.
And when I started getting that feedback, I said, okay, I'm just going to be vulnerable, because it is a vulnerability to put
Yeah.
yourself out there and
Sure.
to have people potentially critique it or judge you or things of that nature. But
Absolutely.
it's who I am. And the more I've been able to put my story out there, my tribe has grown, my business has grown exponentially, because people are looking for connections and relationships.
Yes. Yes.
And when they see that, okay, this is somebody who's moving into her mid 50s, who's not afraid to talk about her curvy body or her children, or going through a divorce and finding love again, which I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary with my new husband.
Oh, congratulations. I love that.
But even that process was about the fact that I was real and just honest, and just said, this is what you get. What you see is what you get.
Yes.
So it really translates and really supports you in every aspect of your life, but definitely in your business. And
Yes.
who you are, your story, is the foundation of your brand. It's the foundation of
Mhm.
everything that you do.
Yep.
And
I
you
love
have
that.
to know it, and you have to share it.
Yes, absolutely. We're so unique, and we forget, like you say, we go on autopilot and we think nobody cares. And it's actually the complete opposite, which is
Yeah.
really amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big question tends to come up in this series. When's too much? When's the, in your opinion, when you're trying to be authentic and vulnerable, when is too much, and when is too little too little? Is there an idea that you have for that?
I'm so glad you said that, because I just wrote a blog post recently about how transparent is too much.
Ah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
talked about that. And I know, like I said, there's almost no more. The line between personal and professional are very blurred right now.
Absolutely.
And particularly when I think about this in social media,
Mhm.
I believe that what you should put out there is your values, what you believe, your sense of who you are, and what it is that you want to contribute to the world. See and there's a difference between sharing everything that happens in your life and contributing your gifts to the
Nice.
world.
Nice way.
So
Yeah.
for me, when I post or when I put things out there, I try to make sure that my brand, my messaging of uplifting and empowering and of self-love and self-confidence and embracing your significance is out there. If
Yeah.
I struggle with something, I try to take that struggle and translate that into how I survived or went through that in such a positive way, or lessons that I've learned, or things that I saw that helped me to move beyond that. So that's the message I want to share. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I went through this, but look how I overcame. Look how
Yes.
I continued in that forward motion. So for me, sharing your gifts and your values is very different than sharing everything that happens in your personal life. Yeah, I fight with my husband, but is that relevant to anybody but me and my husband? Right? I can share that we fought and got over it. Maybe that's a good thing. But for me, my messaging, and particularly because there's so much negativity in the world and there's
Yes.
so much divisiveness, that I really want to add something that people will feel great about. That's still who I am. And it's not phony at all, but it's part of my messaging and my branding. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I do think that sometimes we don't need to share every miserable, horrible,
No. Yeah.
life-changing thing that happens in our life. And we don't need to share every amazing thing that happens in our life, because that's unrealistic too. I mean, we live life, we have ups and downs, but I think sharing our gifts and the ways in which we utilize those gifts to the betterment of mankind or to our clients or in our business, I think that's what we should share. And that's the personal part of me that I give to the world.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic answer. I really agree with you. And thank you. You worded it perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to pick your brain just a little bit about what your
Okay.
expertise is. So you talk about, I've watched your videos, some of your other interviews, and I love you. And you talk about this alignment, which fits in with this story, with the being in alignment and authentic in your image.
Yes.
Now, a lot of the people watching this are either writing books, or they're working on their website, their blogs, or scripts for speeches. And even as an author and definitely as an entrepreneur, you're going to be sharing this story verbally, not just verbally in words, but verbally coming out of your mouth, and then they're going to see you.
Yes.
So what's your advice on, and I'm dealing with two types of people, I'm assuming, which is, you've got your formal business person, but you got a lot of creatives.
Oh yeah.
Who want to be themselves. How do you get in alignment and be authentic with what you're wearing? Like, are there a couple of tips to see if you're actually doing it right?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I want to start by saying that, and this is psychologically and research tested, that what you wear sends a message to the people who see you. Yes. And not only that, it sends a message to yourself. So it impacts not only how you feel about yourself. A lot of times people show up, it sends a message that maybe internally you don't have a sense of confidence, or you are confused about what message you're trying to put out there. Particularly if you're creative and you show up in a suit, people are like, well, how creative are you, right? Totally. When you're showing up in something that's prescribed, that looks like you're going to a law office, as opposed to something that's creative and unique and innovative. Mm-hmm. So what you wear has a tremendous power. And my philosophy is that you have to learn how to leverage your clothes to your advantage. So it's not just about the clothes, and it doesn't start with the clothes, but it starts with your story, right? And so when you are clear about who you are authentically, and that could be, maybe you are a creative and an innovator, right? Maybe you're into health and fitness and you're all about movement and flexibility. Maybe you are a public speaker and you're always on stage and all eyes are always on you. Or maybe you're more of a homebody or nurturer, and you do work that's really about giving and supporting and life, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you are one of those like straight professionals with that, continual analytical and detail-oriented space. That's totally fine. Well, each one of those has a different energetic energy that requires a different type of dress. So yes. For example, creatives are, and this is from a feng shui perspective, creatives have more of that water energy, that fluidity, yes. Uniqueness, so they should wear things that are unique, that are creative, that have, various patterns that are unseen or not seen commonly, or things of that nature. So those are the type of things that I would work with a creative on. That's awesome. And for those who are more athletic, or they're doing things more in the health or wellness game, I would totally put them in things that were very comfortable oriented, like denim or cotton or linen, or, and colors that really reflect nature, like those greens and turquoises and blues and things of that nature, right? Because it speaks to the mind that this is about health and wellness and energy. Mm-hmm. And those colors have that type of energy. Yeah. People on stage, I'm all about, you need to show up. So, stop wearing black on stage. You look like you're facilitating a funeral or something of that nature. Wear pops of color that really suits you, purples and reds and, things of that nature that have some vitality to them that really represent you, right? So whatever you are, it all starts with your story. And once you understand your story, that's the foundation of your brand. And then we build from there. But what also you can do is the colors that represent who you are authentically, I believe, and what I help my clients do is to move that over into their marketing. So that also speaks to the colors and the fonts, yes. The verbiage that you use on your website, on your business cards, or how you even talk about your business. Yes. Right. So it all is in alignment so that when you show up, there's no disconnect. It was interesting. I was having a conversation just this morning with the mayor of Vancouver. We were doing a TV segment together, and we were having this conversation, and she said she was interviewing someone for a position, and there was two people in the room, and one person, just off glance, one person she looked at and said, okay, well, this must be one of the candidates, and another one she thought was just maybe a staff member, or maybe somebody was lost. Yeah. Because the way they were dressed did not suggest that they were in the process of interviewing for something for her. So the word she used was, instead of starting at even ground, he started in the negative. Yes. And what happens is, when there's a disconnect or a dissonance between what you say you do and who you say you are and what you put out there, and you show up in a way that does not speak to that, you're causing your clients or potential clients or colleagues to wonder which one is true. And are you really authentic? Or are you trying to run a game on me or something of that nature? So you don't want people to have those type of conversations. Totally. You want to show up and people say, that's her or that's him, that's exactly who I expected, because everything about them is all in alignment and in congruence. And
Yes.
congruency is huge.
I love when you talk about how it's not just about projecting for others, but it totally makes you feel different.
Absolutely.
When you feel like you're in the clothes that are your story, like you're like, you know, like if you were to make a little movie about your life and your little, and the story that you're coming into with your business, and would you want that character to walk through the door? I once I was doing creative work in a corporate setting.
Mm-hmm.
Asked to help them with stories writing for marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
And I came in and I always have my backup, you know, Ann Taylor suit things. And I came in and I was really uncomfortable. I just hadn't worn one in a while, you know, and I sat in the boardroom. We went through, and the executive director who hired me, who loves me, we finished the whole thing, and she's like, "You look, you know, you're tired, you're not on your game, like something like they loved you anyway. Like we got the deal, everything worked out.
Yeah.
You know, they love just your work.
Yeah.
Like there's something about you that, you know, do you want to chat?" She was a wonderful, wonderful woman. And I looked at her and I said, "No, everything's fine. I just hate wearing this." You know, it was just like, I don't know, it's been a while, you know, because I had my own business by then, and
right.
She goes, and I love her. She looks at me, she goes, "I don't want you to ever wear it again. We didn't hire you to be one of us.
Exactly.
We hired you to come in and be in the creative." So she goes, "Well, what would you wear?" And I said, "I'd wear red, flowy tunic." And it was very professional, like flowy black pants and like probably a gemstone. And she said, "I'll tell you what, I am not letting you stay on this project unless you come and wear what you feel comfortable in," because she wanted me to make the room feel comfortable.
Yes.
And I was like, had no idea that reverse impact.
Yeah. Yes.
And you just reminded me of that. And that's powerful stuff.
It's very powerful. And that's a lot of times people have this idea of business and casual.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing in between. And business means suit and casual means yoga pants.
Yeah.
Or jeans. And like there's nothing in between. And the breadth and the possibilities are truly endless, but they all stem from you. So every client that I work with, every person I work with, no one looks the same, because no one is the same, and your story is different. And where you're situated now in your story is the way you should dress. And as your story evolves, so should how you dress evolve. So that is always speaking authentically in terms of who you are and where you are right now, in addition to where you want to go. So that when people see you, they're like, got it. You know, when I could tell people, I could go through people's closet and tell immediately how they feel about themselves.
Wow.
And, you know, if they're depressed, if they've been bullied, if they, are trying to hide, if they're trying to project something that's not really authentically who they are, you know, if they're trying to meet someone else's expectations and not their own, you can tell by just going through people's closets. What you wear impacts and reflects who you are. And so that's why it has to start with your story. So I don't work with people. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I have to go shopping. Will you buy me something?" I'm like, I don't even know you. I can't, right? I can't. I mean, that's usually what like a stylist does. They will just put something on you and maybe it'll fit for the occasion, but how really could they do that when they don't know you? You know? And so you wear it and you may fidget and like, this doesn't feel right. And it's because it's not right for you.
Being comfortable. I like this idea of being comfortable. So there's a combination here. And comfort, like you said, comes from many levels. Comfort, the colors you wear, and having that sense of comfort that you are really, like you said, I'll say it again, in alignment and authentic with the real you.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that opportunity, the irony, I think that opportunity comes and opens because people are attracted to people who are authentic.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You know, when people, I mean, think about it. If you are looking for a job or if you're going to work long-term with a client, they want to feel comfortable with you. They want to feel like they could connect to you, to relate to you, that you're speaking their language, that basically you're part of their tribe. And that's exactly what shows up. And when you're dressed in that way, that's authentically representing you, you naturally exude that. you are naturally putting out that energy that says, here I am, and people will find you. I cannot tell you how many times people, after we work together, they walk in the room and tell me who found them. Like people
Wow.
are just coming at
Yeah.
them when
Yeah.
they've been
Yeah.
in the same type of rooms before, and either no one paid attention, or if they would talk to someone, nothing really came to fruition from it. But
Totally.
once they were in their space, because you move differently, you
Totally.
project something entirely different. You really project who you are. And when that happens, the energy signals, it's like tapping people on the shoulder
Yeah.
saying, here I am. And
Yeah.
they come to you.
Yeah.
That's just,
And
it's just the way it works. It's
and the
true research around it.
best clients come to you when
The
you're
best, your clients come to you.
yes,
That's
yes.
exactly right. That's
I love
exactly
it.
right. Yeah.
One of the other things you said is when you were going through this transition, and I'm assuming this is what you help other people discover, is that you never knew who Carol was at some point.
Yeah.
You felt like an imposter. And now that you've started your business, you've told your story, and now you stepped into your image and you help other people do that too, I'm assuming. And they go,
Yeah.
wow, I didn't know who I was before this.
Yeah, and that goes back to, if you think about it, as children, we have our parents who are influencing us, right? And a lot of times if our parents have, a persona or way of being, let's say, I'll use my own example. My mother was a very prim, proper, she was a Southern belle, and girls should behave one way and dress a certain way. And my mother wouldn't go to the mailbox unless her hair and makeup were done.
Hey, my mom too.
Okay, so that everything was in its place and everything had a place, right? It was just that way. I, on the other hand, am a little bit more of a free spirit and was a huge tomboy growing up. So the message that I constantly got from my mother that how I was not right.
Ooh.
Right. And that happened. Now, it wasn't when she said that, but it was just the messaging, the underlying kind of impression that I got was because she kept trying to course correct me and make me more like her, which parents do. Sometimes, kids are doing things and it's like, why are you doing that? That seems odd to me. And so the kid picks up on that maybe, okay, well, I shouldn't be doing that. And then you lose a sense of yourself. So then you grow up, for me, I grew up trying to, emulate these ideals that I thought I should be living, from my mom. And then I went into a career of law, and law has a whole nother, layer that's attached to it in terms of how you're supposed to be as a lawyer and show up as a lawyer and so on and so forth. Then I got married, my first marriage, and then there are expectations in that. And how am I in terms of, the compromise, how do I do this dance of showing up as your wife, but also me? And then I became a mom, so what happened is that through time, these layers just got added on. And I found myself in a lot of ways playing a role and not really in touch with, well, what does make sense for me? And I don't want to say I was a robot or unhappy. I mean, there were times, but definitely my lens was influenced by what was around me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't developed by me internally.
Totally.
And when I went through the divorce, and I had a massive car accident where I almost was killed. And I was in the hospital for, a month and had surgeries in a wheelchair for 6 months. And that makes you think. It gives you time to think.
Yeah, totally.
And it happened all within, between the divorce and the accident, all within like a couple of year period.
Wow.
And so it really gave me an opportunity to stop and say, who am I and what do I really want? And around the time is also when I started my doctorate program. And so really over almost like a 5-year period was my metamorphosis and transformation of who I was, and realizing that, I wasn't feeling confident always in what I was doing because it wasn't what I was really meant to be doing. Right.
Yeah.
There were aspects of it I was good at, but I was doing it in ways that other people wanted me to do it. And I would feel uncomfortable. And sometimes you think, well, is it me or, what's the problem, without really realizing, nope, this is just not my zone of genius. This is not where I should be.
Totally.
And when you don't know that, you just operate in this feeling like an imposter or unsure. And, you start self-doubting and self-blaming and self-critiquing, which ultimately could lead you down a self-destructive path, and just, not showing up in that powerful way and really finding that nugget, those gifts that are in your core that you should be sharing and giving to the world. Yeah.
It was funny that you say that. It's similar when people do figure out what they're going to write about, whether it's their introduction to their book and their story in there, whether it's their bio. It's that layering of who am I? For me, how do I look at and everything works out. Like everything has added to your story.
Yeah,
Everything has brought you to where you are today.
absolutely.
And I love that you help people do that with their image, so that they can, because a lot of writers out there, you know, they go and they speak, and it's so awesome to hear that they can be themselves
Yes.
while they tell their true story.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah. You want to be able to be on stage and let people hear what you're saying and not let your outfit be speaking for you or
awesome.
speaking against you, right?
Totally.
You know, you'll move and you'll just act in a totally more authentic and real, genuine way when you do that.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
we're about at time, but you have a great free gift to offer.
I do. I do. I recently wrote a little mini guide on the 5 ways your image is sabotaging your income.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I have peeled back the layers and laid out the science and the research around it so people can really understand why these things make a difference. And there's 5 key areas that if you were to tweak them and make a difference, you really can increase your income. The studies have shown this by upwards of 30%.
Nice.
So yeah. So I'm sharing that as a free guide for anyone who wants to get a copy of that.
Oh, I love it. I'll have the link on this page. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for coming, Carol.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is amazing. You're doing some awesome work and I'm so excited to be a part of
Oh,
it.
yeah, and I can't wait to see you out and about. We'll have
Yes.
fun too. Okay.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
You too. You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.